The old mahogany conference table in Mr. Peterson's law office had witnessed countless will readings, but I doubt it had ever seen anything quite like this. I sat quietly watching my brother Robert's smirk grow wider as our parents' will was read. And to our son Robert, we leave our investment portfolio, valued at $12 million, along with the family home in Beverly Hills and all associated properties in California. Robert adjusted his Italian silk tie, shooting me a triumphant look. Next to him, his wife Catherine practically purred with satisfaction. To our daughter Sarah, Mr. Peterson continued, his voice carefully neutral, we leave the family farm in Montana, including all land and structures thereon. The farm? Robert burst out laughing. Oh, this is perfect. 500 acres of worthless dirt in the middle of nowhere. How fitting. I kept my face blank, though my hands clenched beneath the table. The farm had been in our family for 3 generations, though no one had lived there since Grandpa died 15 years ago. To my parents and Robert, it was nothing but a tax burden, an embarrassing reminder of our family's humble beginnings. There must be some mistake, Catherine interjected, her diamond bracelets clinking as she gestured. Sarah can't possibly manage a farm. She's never worked a day in her life. That wasn't exactly true. While Robert had been spending our parents' money in networking at country clubs, I'd spent the last 10 years building a successful environmental consulting firm. Not that my family had noticed, they were too busy dismissing my tree hugger phase, as they called it. The will is quite clear, Mr. Peterson said firmly. The distribution is final and legally binding. Well, Robert stood, straightening his custom suit. I suppose someone has to get the scraps. Enjoy your dirt, little sister. Try not to get your manicure ruined while you're selling it to the first buyer you can find. I thought about the geological surveys I'd been secretly conducting on the property for the past year. About the preliminary results that had made my heart race. About the real reason I'd earned my degree in environmental science while my family mocked my choices. Don't worry about me, Robert, I said mildly. I'm sure I'll manage somehow. How generous of you, Catherine sneered. Though I suppose beggars can't be choosers. It's not like you have any other prospects. My prospects included a PhD in geology and a company that specialized in sustainable resource management, but they'd never bothered to ask about that. To them, I was just the family disappointment, the daughter who'd refused to follow the expected path of marrying rich and playing society wife. If that's all, I stood up, gathering my papers, I have a flight to catch. A flight. Robert laughed. To Montana? How quaint. Going to milk some cows, are you? I smiled, thinking about the team of experts already assembled at the farm. Something like that. 6 months later, I stood in my grandfather's old study at the farmhouse, looking out over the sprawling Montana landscape. The room was exactly as he'd left it, maps covering the walls, geological journals filling the bookshelves, and his old notebook still sitting in the desk drawer. The notebook that had started everything. Ms. Mitchell. My assistant Jake appeared in the doorway. The final test results are in. I took the folder he offered, though I already knew what it would say. We'd found it, exactly where Grandpa's notes had suggested it would be. The largest lithium deposit in North America, possibly in the world, sitting right under this worthless farm. Have you released the press statement? I asked, scanning the numbers. They were even better than our initial estimates. Going out in 10 minutes, Jake confirmed. The Wall Street Journal already wants an exclusive. And your brother's office has called 6 times this morning. Of course they had. The rumors had already started spreading through the industry. Whispers about a massive lithium discovery, about billion-dollar mining rights, about the small environmental consulting firm that was about to become one of the biggest players in the green energy sector. My phone buzzed. Robert again. I let it go to voicemail just as I had with his last 20 calls. Instead, I opened my laptop to check the latest valuation estimates. Conservative projections put the lithium deposits at worth over $3 billion. And that was just the preliminary survey of the north section. Ms. Mitchell. Jake appeared again. There's someone here to see you. Actually, several someones. I didn't need to ask who it was. I could hear Catherine's shrill voice carrying through the old farmhouse, demanding to speak with me immediately. Send them in, I said, not looking up from my laptop. This should be interesting. Robert burst into the study like he owned it, Catherine trailing behind him in what appeared to be this season's latest designer wear, completely inappropriate for a Montana ranch. What the hell is going on? Robert demanded. There are rumors all over Wall Street about a massive lithium discovery. Tell me it's not true. I finally looked up, taking in his red face and Catherine's calculating expression. Oh, it's true. Though I'm surprised you care about my worthless dirt now. This is family property. Catherine stepped forward, her voice sharp. You can't just. Family property? I cut her off. I thought it was just worthless dirt in the middle of nowhere. Isn't that what you called it, Robert? At the will reading. Robert's face went through several interesting color changes. That was. Look, we need to discuss this as a family. You can't handle something of this magnitude on your own. I smiled, thinking about the contracts already signed, the partnerships already formed, the infrastructure already being built. Surely I can. And I have. But. Catherine sputtered. But you don't know anything about business. You're just. Just what? I asked quietly. Just the family disappointment? Just the tree hugger? Just the one you all dismissed and mocked for years? I stood up, walking to Grandpa's old maps on the wall. You know what's funny? Grandpa knew about this. All those years ago he suspected what was under this land. It's all in his notebooks, the geological surveys, the mineral tests, everything. He just didn't have the technology or resources to prove it. Then why didn't he say anything? Robert demanded. He did. He tried to tell Dad dozens of times. But none of you ever listened to the old man rambling about rocks and minerals. You were too busy being embarrassed by your farming roots, too focused on your country clubs and society parties. I pulled out Grandpa's old notebook, its pages worn with age. He left me this notebook when I was 12. Said I was the only one who ever showed any interest in his crazy theories. The only one who ever bothered to ask questions about the land. Catherine's eyes narrowed. So you knew about this when you accepted the farm in the will? You manipulated the situation. I laughed. Manipulated? You all thought you were punishing me, giving me the worthless property while Robert got the real inheritance. I simply chose not to correct your assumptions. Robert slammed his hand on Grandpa's old desk, making the wood creak. This isn't fair. You knew about this potential and didn't say anything during the will reading. Fair. I raised an eyebrow. Like how fair it was when you mocked my career choices for a decade. Or how fair it was when you told everyone at Mom's funeral that at least one child hadn't been a disappointment. Catherine stepped forward, switching tactics. Her voice turned honey-sweet. Sarah, darling, let's be reasonable. We're family. Surely we can work something out. A partnership, perhaps. Just then Jake appeared in the doorway again. Ms. Mitchell? The press release has gone live. Your company's stock has already jumped 200% in the first 5 minutes of trading. I smiled, turning my laptop around so they could see the headlines. Mitchell Environmental discovers largest lithium deposit in North America, green energy revolution. Montana farm yields billion-dollar discovery, Sarah Mitchell. The woman revolutionizing sustainable mining. Robert's face went pale as he read. Mitchell Environmental. That's your company? But you said you were doing environmental consulting. I am, I said calmly. We consult on sustainable resource management, rare earth mineral extraction and green energy development. We're actually one of the largest firms in the sector. Though you'd know that if you'd ever bothered to ask about my work instead of dismissing it as my tree hugger phase. But, Catherine's voice had lost its sweetness. But you never showed any signs of this kind of success. You drive a normal car, you live in a regular apartment. Because I choose to, I cut her off. Success isn't about showing off wealth. It's about building something meaningful. Jake cleared his throat. The governor's office is on line 1. And Tesla just reached out about a potential partnership. Robert collapsed into one of the study's old leather chairs. This can't be happening. That lithium has to be worth. Current estimates put it at around $3 billion, I supplied. Though that's just the preliminary survey of the north section. We haven't even started on the southern fields yet. Catherine's designer purse slipped from her shoulder. $3 billion. Give or take a few $100 million, I shrugged. Of course that's just the raw value. Once we factor in the sustainable extraction methods my company has patented, plus the processing facilities we're building. We need to talk to a lawyer, Robert interrupted, pulling out his phone. This should have been disclosed during the will reading. There must be some way to contest. Actually, I pressed a button on my desk intercom. Let's talk about lawyers. Send them in, please. The study door opened and 3 distinguished-looking attorneys entered, each carrying thick folders. Meet the legal team from Harrison and Schmidt. I gestured to them. They've spent the last 6 months documenting every dismissive comment, every mocking remark, and every attempt you've made to undermine my career. Including, Robert, your interesting comments to the country club board about my company being a joke when they were considering us for their sustainability contract. Robert's face went from pale to gray. You can't. Oh, but I can, I smiled. You see, while you were busy looking down on my worthless dirt, I was building an empire. Mitchell Environmental doesn't just consult anymore. We're one of the largest sustainable resource companies in the world. That lithium deposit? It's just the beginning. I nodded to the lawyers who began laying out documents on the desk. These are cease and desist orders. You're both to stop claiming any connection to Mitchell Environmental or the lithium discovery. Any attempt to contest the will or claim rights to this property will result in immediate legal action. Catherine started to speak, but I held up my hand. I'm not finished. I've also documented every instance of corporate espionage Robert attempted in the past week, including trying to bribe one of my geologists for information. That's a federal offense, by the way. Robert jumped up. You can't prove. Actually, we can, one of the lawyers interjected smoothly. Your attempts were rather amateur. I walked to the window, looking out over the land that everyone had dismissed as worthless. You know what the irony is? If you had ever shown even a hint of respect for my work, I might have been willing to share this discovery. To make it a true family legacy. We can still do that. Catherine said quickly. We're family after all. Family. I turned back to them. Family doesn't mock each other's dreams. Family doesn't dismiss years of hard work as a phase. And family certainly doesn't show up demanding a share of success only after it makes headlines. Jake appeared again. Ms. Mitchell? The Tesla executives are landing in 20 minutes, and the governor will be here in an hour. Thank you, Jake. I straightened my jacket. Robert, Catherine, I believe you can find your way out. The lawyers will walk you through the cease and desist orders. Oh, and Robert? That country club membership you're so proud of? Mitchell Environmental just bought the club. You might want to start looking for a new place to golf. You can't do this to us. Catherine wailed. What will people say? They'll say exactly what you've been saying for years, I replied calmly. That Sarah Mitchell is nothing like her family. And for once I'll take that as a compliment. As security escorted them out, I could hear Robert's protests echoing through the old farmhouse. I sat at Grandpa's desk, running my hands over the worn wood, remembering all the times he'd told me to be patient, to trust in the land, to believe in myself even when no one else did. Ms. Mitchell. Jake reappeared. The Wall Street Journal is requesting an official statement about the family situation. Apparently, Robert's been calling every media outlet in the country. I smiled, picking up Grandpa's old notebook. Tell them the truth. Sometimes the most valuable things in life are the ones others dismiss as worthless. And sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong, it's proving yourself right. The next morning I woke up to dozens of messages from distant relatives and family friends, all suddenly interested in reconnecting. I deleted them all. Instead, I focused on the latest geological reports. We'd found another deposit in the southern fields, potentially even larger than the first. I thought about Robert and Catherine, probably sitting in their Beverly Hills mansion, realizing that their $12 million inheritance was pocket change compared to what lay beneath this worthless dirt. About how they'd have to watch as Mitchell Environmental revolutionized the green energy sector. About how their children would read about their aunt, the woman who transformed a dismissed piece of land into a billion-dollar empire. The farm's old windmill creaked in the morning breeze, a sound that had driven my parents crazy but had always made Grandpa smile. Music of the land, he'd called it. Now it was joined by the hum of construction equipment as we built the world's most advanced sustainable mining facility. I opened Grandpa's notebook to the last page where he'd written a note just for me. To my dear Sarah, who sees value where others see dirt. Trust the land. It will prove them all wrong. And it had. In the most spectacular way possible. Jake knocked on the study door. The governor's here for the groundbreaking ceremony. And you might want to see this. Robert just tried to pass himself off as a company executive at the front gate. Security's having quite a laugh. I closed Grandpa's notebook, tucking it safely in my desk. Let him watch from outside. Sometimes people need to learn the hard way that true worth isn't in what you inherit. It's in what you build from what others dismiss. As I walked out to meet the governor, I passed the old family photos on the wall. My parents, Robert, Catherine, all of them looking down their noses at the camera, trying so hard to distance themselves from their farming roots. Soon those photos would be replaced by images of the world's most advanced sustainable mining operation, proof that sometimes the best things in life grow from dismissed and underestimated soil. After all, revenge might be sweet, but success, real world-changing success, that's satisfaction on a whole different level.